Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pasatadi Satarine. Shiva Jayo Jayo Gaura Chande Arati ko Shobha. Shiva Jayo Chande Arati ko Shobha. Jana Vitatavane Jagamana Loba. Jahana Vitatavane Jagamana Loba. Dakshine Nitai Chan Dami Gadadara.
Dakshine Nitai Chan Dami Gadadara.
Shiva Chan Dami Gadadara. Nikate Advaita Srini Vatsa Chatradhara.
Nikate Advaita Srini Vatsa Chatradhara.
Bosi আছে Gaurachan Ratna Simhasane.
Bosi আছে Gaurachan Ratna Simhasane.
Bosi আছে Gaurachan Ratna Simhasane. করে না ব্রহ্মা আদি দেবগণে
আরতি করে না ব্রহ্মা আদি দেবগণে
নরহরি আদি করে চামারা দুলায়া জীবনারা হরে আদি করে চামারা দুলায়া জয় মুকুন্দ বাসু গোসারি গায়া
জয় মুকুন্দ বাসু গোসারি গায়া
সঞ্জয় মুকুন্দ বাসু গোসারি গায়া শঙ্খ বাজে ঘণ্টা বাজে বাজে করতালা
বাজে ঘণ্টা বাজে বাজে করতালা
শিব শঙ্খ বাজে ঘণ্টা বাজে বাজে করতালা
বাজে ঘণ্টা বাজে বাজে করতালা
মধুরা মৃদঙ্গ বাজে পরমর চালা
মৃদঙ্গ বাজে পরমর সালা
মধুরা মৃদঙ্গ বাজে পরমর সালা आरती को शोभा जग जनर माना लोभा गौरांगेरा आरती को शोभा जग जनर माना लोभा बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे
बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर मधुर बाजे
शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर मधुर बाजे
बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर मधुर मधुर
বাজে ঘন্টা বাজে মাদুর 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 বাজে
শঙ্খ বাজে ঘন্টা বাজে মধুর 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 বাজে
শঙ্খ বাজে ঘন্টা বাজে মাদুর 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 বাজে
বাজে মধুর 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 বাজে
শঙ্খ বাজে ঘন্টা বাজে মাদুর 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 বাজে নিতাই গৌর হরি বল হরি বল হরি বল নিতাই গৌর হরি বল
হরি বল হরি বল হরি বল নিতা গৌর হরি বল
বহু কোটি চন্দ্র জিনে বদন উজালা
কোটি চাঁদ বাদল উজালা
শিব বহু কোটি চন্দ্র জিনে বদন উজালা
কোটি চাঁদ বাদল জ্বালা
গলা দেশে বানামালা করে ঝালামালা
দেশে বানা মালা করে ঝলমালা
গলা দেশে বানামালা করে ঝালামালা
দেশে বানা মালা করে ঝলমালা
শিবা সুকা নারদ প্রেমে গদ গদ
সুখ নারাধা প্রেমে গদা
শিব শিব সুকা নারদ প্রেমে গদ গদ
সুখ নারাধা প্রেমে গদা
ভাকতে বিনোদ দেখে গৌরার সম্পাদ
বিনোদা দেখে গৌর সম্পাদ
ভাকতে বিনোদ দেখে গৌরার সম্পাদ जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhavari Radha Madhavari Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Srinati Gopal, Jaya Srinati Gopal, Srinati Gopal, Jaya Srinati Gopal. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaur Hari Bol.
Jai Gaura Pramanandi. Sit, everyone sit down. Nursing prayer. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramamsa Pariviracharya Stotru Sada, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Jai Om ISKCON Founder Acharya, BVT Founder Acharya, Savior of the whole world, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramamsa Pariviracharya Nitya Leela Prishta, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की, नामाचार्य शिलाजीदास ठाकुर की, सत गोस्वामी प्रभु की, प्रेम च गो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की, वृंदावन नवद्वीप धाम की, मधुर धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, द्वारका धाम की, गंगा माई यमुना माई की, भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की, समवेद भक्त वृंद की, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की, ट्रांसडेंटल शिला प्रभुपाद भक्ति भूषण की, निताय गौर प्रमनंदी. All glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious Sri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
नमस्ते नरसिंहाया
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय
प्रह्लादलाददायिने
प्रह्लादलाददायिने
हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः
काशीपूर्वक्षः
शिला Narasimhamadem Sharanam Prapate.
Narasimhamadem Sharanam Prapade.
Katavakara Kamalavare Nakam Abhuta Sengam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanurenda Keshavadvaita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare.
Avakara Kamalavare Naka Abhuta Singha Padita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvringa Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare.
Jaya Narasimhadev 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 Jaya Narasimhadev.
Jayo Narasimhadev, 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 Jayo Narasimhadev.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj.
Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जय नरसिम्हा भगवान की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय प्रहलाद महाराज की गौर प्रेमानंदे.
Hare Krishna, everyone. ये खींच लो अगर और दूसरे वहाँ से कुशन रख दो. वो आसन है ना, वो कुशन रख दो यहाँ. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Shri Radha Madhav Hari Dham. On behalf of our presiding deities, Shri Radha Madhav Hari, we are glad you were able to join us for the Sandhya Arati and today's special program. We are continuing our Sadachar series of lectures, and it's our third one today. It's going to be given by His Grace Kevala Bhakti Prabhu, and he's going to be talking about time, place, and circumstance today. Prabhu is a disciple of His Holiness Romapad Swami. He's been coming to the temple for quite a while, over 10 years, I know for sure. I know that he came here as a student, and then he got married. We saw his family grow, and he's always had a very wonderful service attitude, and he serves Shri Radha Madhav Hari in the background. Currently, he participates in a morning sadhana program, giving Srimad Bhagavatam classes in the morning from 5:40 to 6 o'clock. And he also takes care of our Harinam once a month. We are trying to grow it to twice a month. Hopefully we'll be able to accomplish it soon. And Prabhu does many other things, especially taking care or for helping us with our audio systems at the temple and for home programs. So I'm grateful to his service, and Mataji helps with our Sunday school program. And when there's nobody to babysit our children, congregation children, Mataji automatically, without any request, she takes care of the children. I'm very grateful to her. It's a wonderful young spiritual family, and they are making really a nice progress in their spiritual life. So I'm very grateful to them and very proud of them. So without taking much of your time today, I'm going to hand over the mic to Kevala Bhakti Prabhu to talk about the third series of Vaisnava etiquette, time, place and circumstance. So it's all regarding how we conduct ourselves. And as Vaishnavas, how we conduct ourselves is very, very important. There are rules and regulations, but then there's time, place and circumstance for everything. So that's what we'll be discussing today. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome you all on behalf of ISKCON Phoenix. And before we get started, we'll sing Jai Radha Madhav song, and you can follow along. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Oh Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Oh Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Oh Yamuna Tiravanachari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare
Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Oh Hare Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Hare Radha Madhava, Hare Radhe.
Jaya Radha Madhava, Hare Radha Madhava, Hare Radhe.
Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda Radhe.
Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda Radhe.
Jaya Srinaji Gopal, Srinaji Gopal, Srinaji Gopal. Jaya Srinaji Gopal.
Jaya Srinaji Gopal, Srinaji Gopal, Srinaji Gopal, Jaya Srinaji Gopal.
Jaya Gauranidai, 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 Jaya Gauranidai.
Jaya Gauranidai, 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 Jaya Gauranidai.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Pranam Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Hitaye Gaur Pramanande. Hare Krishna everyone, again welcome. So today, as Mataji mentioned, is kind of the third seminar on this topic of Vaisnava etiquette, and we'll be going over the topic of time, place and circumstance, how it applies to our normal life, how it applies to our devotional life, and how Krishna exhibited this aspect of time, place, circumstance, and also what are some practical ways we can leverage time, place, circumstances to preach this message to other people who have not been yet gifted to receive this message. So before that, as always, we will start with one verse from one of our scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is a verse from chapter 9, canto 1, and the text is going to be text number 9. So this is spoken to Parikshit Maharaj by Sukadev Goswami. So you can repeat after me for the verse. Tan sametan mahabhagan upalabhya vasuttamaha pujayam ashadharmagnya deshakala vibhagavit. Let's look at the translation. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhishmadeva, who was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Purport: expert religionists know perfectly well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. All the great acharyas or religious preachers or reformers of the world executed their mission by adjustment of religious principles in terms of time and place. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world, and if one has to discharge his duties to preach the message of the Lord, he must be an expert in adjusting things in terms of the time and place. Bhishma Deva was one of the 12 great authorities in preaching this cult of devotional service. And therefore, he could receive and welcome all the powerful sages assembled there at his deathbed from all parts of the universe. He was certainly unable at that time to welcome and receive them physically because he was neither at his home nor in a normal healthy condition. But he was quite fit by the activities of his sound mind, and therefore he could utter sweet words with hearty expressions, and all of them were well received. One can perform one's duty by physical work, by mind, and by words, and he knew well how to utilize them in the proper place, and therefore there was no difficulty for him to receive them, although physically unfit. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bodhale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Paschatya Deshadarane Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna. So we see here that Sukadeva Goswami is saying that the first line of the purport or Prabhupada is saying that expert religionists know perfectly well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. All the great acharyas or religious preachers or reformers of the world executed their mission by adjustment of religious principles in terms of time and place. So now the question is, what is meant here by religious principles? Because we have so many scriptures, so many Puranas, and there is a small story which tells us what the essence of the religious principles are. So once there was a king who was very busy, and he was a very pious king. So he was doing ruling in his kingdom, and he was very busy and very pious king. So he realized that he doesn't have time to basically go through the Vedas or follow the different recommendations of the Vedas in terms of devotional service. So he approached his Brahmanas and he said, "Oh Brahmanas, I don't have time to go through all the Puranas or Vedas to understand the religious or the essence of the religious principles. Can you condense all that into a 50-page document?" So they went for like a month, and then they condensed everything, and they got back to him with like a 50-page summary. And then he went through that, and he realized that that is also too much for him at that point. So he said, "Now that you have reduced so much to 50, can you reduce 50 to 10? So they went back and then took another month, and they reduced it to like 10 pages. And then now he realized that the 10 pages are also too much, and then he asked them again, "Can you reduce this to 1 page?" So they went back and they were like, what else is he going to ask after this? And then so they went on, worked on it for 2 months, and then came back with like 1 page. And the king realized that in the 1 page, everything was like so codic, like all were like sutras, and it was very, very hard to follow. So then the king said, "One last request, O Brahmanas, is that can you condense this into 4 lines? I just need to know the 4 lines, which is the essence of all the religious scriptures and what one's supposed to know." And then the Brahmanas came up with this verse, which is quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in Charitamrita, etc. And it says, you can also repeat, "Smartavya satatam Vishnur, Vismartavya na jatu chet, Sarva vidhi nishedhasyur, Etayoreva kinkara." So it means Smartavya satatam Vishnu. So one should always remember Vishnu. And then second line is Vismartavya na jatuchit, the opposite. Do not forget Krishna or Vishnu. The third line, Sarva vidhi nishedhasyur, all the rules and regulations that exist, Etayor eva kinkaraha, are subservient to these 2 principles, which is always remember Vishnu or Krishna and never forget Krishna. So this is kind of the essence of the Vedic principles, right? And when we talk about this time, place, circumstance, the whole concept, so the goal is, how do we kind of spread this message of the essence of the principles at this context, in this time, place, and circumstance that we exist in? Because if you think, even before going to religious principles, like even for normal living, you need to follow the time, place, circumstance. You cannot be concerned about the time, place, circumstance when you deal with devotees or deal with even materially in office. I remember during the COVID time, we were working remotely, and then I used to email like normally to one of my colleagues, and the type of reply I was getting from him was like very cold. He was very upset. He was like very rough in his language. Of course, email is one of the most inefficient way of communicating, especially it doesn't convey any emotions or feelings. So this happened for like 2-3 days when I was not getting the information in the right time, in the right way from this person. And then I escalated this to my manager saying, oh, this is not a typical good response you expect from a colleague. And then he told me that basically this person had COVID, and this was like 2020, like peak COVID time, and he couldn't get admission in the hospital, and he was like going through so much trauma. And that's why his reaction was like that in his email and in communication. So the example goes to show that if you don't understand where everyone is, you can misjudge people, right? So that's an example. So if materially this is so important, how important it is when we talk about religious principles, right? You want to make sure you give it in the right way, the right place, and in the right form so people can receive it. So here, Prabhupada, that's why I always say is that we should be proper gentlemen in the first place, right? We should be normal, well-behaving people before even we propagate this message. So when you talk about time, place, circumstance, two things come into consideration. One is we want to make sure the timeless wisdom, which is like the religious principles, the Vedic knowledge, is still intact. At the same time, you make some minor adjustments so it is received by the audience. And we have several examples from the Puranas also. For example, if you see how the principles were maintained, we know that the main principle again is not to forget Krishna and always remember Krishna, right? And also the other main principle that shouldn't change is that anybody is open to worship Krishna. Nobody is being barred from like taking up to this devotional process. So that's the principle. But if you look at the adjustments on the other side, you can see from even Puranas, for example, even here, Bhishma Dev in the verse we saw, he was in the situation where he was in this death or arrow bed, and he couldn't get up to offer respects to the sages. But at the same time, he did offer by his mind, by his words. So that's adjustment we see as an example. Another example we see is like Dhruva Maharaja's pastime, where he, again, was in the forest, and Narada Muni asked him to meditate, and there was no deity form there. And then Narada Muni gave him an option, alternative option to still worship. So there have been adjustments done, even in our Puranas, we see so many examples. And there's a nice example, again, we can see from Ashwatthama and Arjuna's pastime. So we know that when Ashwatthama was caught and he was kind of responsible for killing the Upapandavas, at that point, Krishna firstly said, kill Ashwatthama, right? And then Bhima said, kill Ashwatthama. But there were two more people who said not to kill Ashwatthama. Anybody knows? Draupadi said not to kill, and who else? Yudhishthira Maharaj. So there were like two people saying kill, two people saying not to kill. And Krishna was one of the people who said kill. But if you see what Arjuna did, he basically collected all the inputs, and then he used his intelligence and then made a good decision like to punish Ashwatthama, at the same time not kill Ashwatthama. If you see Krishna's words were like the most important ones, then he did not follow Krishna's words. But still the essence was maintained in the sense that he punished Ashwatthama by cutting his shikha, which is like more than death for a Kshatriya. So that's how the principle was maintained by Arjuna. And we see several examples of Prabhupada doing this also. For example, Prabhupada, when he came to the US, he was kind of initially clueless on how to preach this message to the Westerners, because his language was different, and the Westerners, there was no common point of connection. So it's mentioned in the Lilamrita that Prabhupada, when he was in the early days in Sally Agarwal and Gopal Agarwal's house, he used to ask all the questions to Sally Agarwal. How does a washing machine work? How does an automatic car work? How does basically your vacuum cleaner work? Because he wanted to understand how everything is in the Western world so he could leverage them to preach this message. And at that point, he was considering how to preach this message of Bhagavad Gita and Krishna to the Western devotees. Especially they were hippies at that time. And hippies are basically, at that time, if you go and read about them, they were basically very different from the normal community, right? Because they were basically very badly dressed. They were disheveled, they didn't shave, their hair was long. They were wearing all kinds of beads in the hands and necklaces and earrings, and They had like different colored clothing. They had tattoos all over the body. They had like music. They were passionate about music. So Krishna tapped this, and then Srila Prabhupada tapped this, and then what he did was kind of amazing. The way he presented Krishna was very fascinating. So he said, firstly, he kind of attracted the hippies by saying that Krishna is also a hippie. And then they were wondering how. So basically he said, you are wearing colored clothes, and Krishna is a blue boy, and he's wearing this yellow clothes. So what kind of combination, how more weird can you be wearing this yellow dhoti? And then he said basically that you're wearing beads, and Krishna also has beads and necklaces and earrings. And then Krishna also has this weird feather in his head. And Krishna also basically has this girlfriend next to him, which is Radharani. And basically, so Prabhupada basically attracted the hippies based on what is attractive to them. And then basically that attracted the hippies to Krishna, and then slowly he started giving them the philosophy of what's chanting and then what's Bhagavad Gita, and slowly they picked up. So again, this is very difficult in the sense that acting by time, place, circumstance is not easy unless you have intelligence, you have like maturity, you have like mercy, trust with the people you are interacting with. And another thing Prabhupada mentioned was that Krishna also loves music and he plays the flute. So this way the hippies were able to relate to him in a fascinating way. In fact, Prabhupada funnily said that the hippies, when he met them, had already done the Sarva Dharman Parityajya, because they had like given up everything, they didn't have any material attachment. And then all Prabhupada had to do was basically Mam Ekam Saranam Raja, teach them how to surrender to Krishna. So half the part was already done. So that's how Srila Prabhupada put it. And on the other side, can someone share, or can a few of you share what compromises that Prabhupada has made so far for us? And what kind of adjustments has he made? Anything comes to your mind in terms of our practice? 16. Yeah, so 64, Prabhupada's guru said 64 is the minimum, but then Prabhupada reduced it to 16, saying that's good enough at this time and age. Anything else that comes to mind? Yeah. Yeah, so women were given the Brahman initiation, and they were allowed in the altar, they were allowed deity service, which was very, very uncommon at that time. And anything else? Exactly, yeah, that's another thing. And also, the fourth thing I kind of noted was that if you see, per the Vedas, you cannot offer, or you cannot cook unless you have water from the holy rivers. You cannot perform deity worship unless you have water from like Yamuna, or like one of the holy rivers which is not contaminated. But Prabhupada adjusted, saying in the Western world that's not possible, but let's use tap water. So those are adjustments, but the principles were never compromised. And Prabhupada did say this statement that instead of the 4 regulative principles, if he had reduced it to 3, if he had even removed 1, he would have had like thousands of more disciples. But he did not do it, because he didn't want to compromise. And his principle was that dharma stands on the 4 legs, and he cannot, and the 4 legs are supported by the 4 regulative principles we have. So Prabhupada was not ready to compromise. And in fact, we see that even Parikshit Maharaj, who basically started ruling in Kali Yuga, was kind of end of Kali Yuga, that he was perfect. Sorry, not end of Kali Yuga, end of the previous Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. So he was very perfect preacher in the sense that he knew that the time, place, and circumstance was like very favorable for Kali in the Kali Yuga. So what he did was he restricted the effect of Kali only to those 4 regulative principles. So in one sense, we are so fortunate that the effect of Kali is like restricted to those principles, and as long as we don't follow or we don't go near that, then we are fine. All right. So now, when we talked about the adjustments we needed, etc. But then the question is like, how do we know how much to adjust? Because typically, in the name of adjustments, we could compromise the principles. Because if we are not trained, if we are not guided properly, we could compromise. And because we have some fugitive attachments like sense gratification, interest, so we could always compromise on the philosophy and do some things thinking that we are just adjusting based on time, place, circumstance, and then that way not follow the right process. So this is where, I mean, again, there's no one cookie cutter recipe for this, but we have to think about it, and then we have to consult senior acharyas, devotees, and we have to understand that because we didn't have right prioritization in life, and that's why we are like kind of misusing our free will in thinking that we are adjusting, which is authorized, but we are not doing the right process. So now the concept of time, place, circumstance also kind of comes in on how to preach this message to others. What do we consider when we share this message? Because we, as practicing devotees, might be knowing all this. We trust Krishna. I mean, we have been worshipping Krishna, or we have some piety in us. But a lot of people, maybe outside, or young children, they may not have piety yet. So how do we give this message considering time, place, circumstance is kind of the challenge. And in other words, how do we market Krishna? That's kind of the challenge. How do we market Krishna so it's attractive and received by people, right? So first thing that is explained is we have to behave nicely. We have to speak nicely. That's how we can kind of demonstrate by an example, right? So, I mean, in my house, this always happens that my daughter doesn't eat well or cannot finish her meal. So I go sit next to her and then, for example, say that day the sabji is not so good or it's not so great, it's still 50-50. But still, kids generally, if they don't like something, they don't do it. I mean, if they are full, they don't eat more. So when my daughter is eating and if the sabji is not tasting that good, if I go tell her, this is Krishna's prasadam, you have to eat it. I mean, I can do that. I can be so controlling and say, this is Krishna's prasadam, you cannot waste it, you have to eat it. I mean, my daughter, who's like 8 years old or 6 years old, she doesn't understand this line. And she thinks, okay, why is that forcing on me? And she could very well say, oh, even Krishna wouldn't like this prasadam, it's so bad, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't have any answer except for saying, no, you have to eat it now. That's all I can say. So, now what am I doing? I'm not marketing Krishna in the right way to her. I'm kind of creating a diversion, or I'm rejecting her from like Krishna's prasadam. Because she could form an impression that, okay, Krishna prasadam, however it is, I cannot take. I mean, that's how she thinks of it, right? I mean, it's not like we can force when someone is not liking something to do. So again, that's kind of behavior we need to avoid when we are trying to share this message with especially kids. And then the other point that is mentioned is, firstly, even before talking about rules and regulations, we have to give love. We have to show love, and then we have to receive love accordingly. Again, I'm sharing I was just thinking about so many things in the past that came up. So talking about this love giving first and rules and regulations later, initially I think this might be common to most of us, but when I started Krishna consciousness, initially we are in this kind of honeymoon period, meaning everything has to be so perfect. You have to like eat only prasadam, you have to offer like with perfect tulasi, and the utensils have to be separate, and you're like so strict about it, right? And when you have relatives, it doesn't work that way. And you cannot expect them for them to like honor everything. And they might be like, oh, why is he doing this? Like, why is he so immature? Right? So, I mean, I've done that personally. And again, the love the love that is coming is kind of being hindered when you behave this way. And then also, like, sometimes we are invited, like when we go to India, like relatives invite us, and then they kind of, with love, offer something, and then we are not able to eat. And we cannot like reject immediately saying, oh, I won't eat this, I'm a devotee now. And then they might think, oh, is this what Krishna teaches you? Like, is this how you reciprocate when someone offers with love? So again, the basic behavior is a big thing in communicating this message to others. So basically, we shouldn't be hurting people's sentiments. Because when you talk about spreading this message of Krishna per time, place, circumstance, there are two aspects to it. One is, you should not be alienating people or moving people away from Krishna. And parallelly, you should be attracting people to Krishna. So how do we do both? That's kind of the challenge, right? And I know, I also remember I have this example that initial days when we were starting Krishna consciousness, I had gone to one of the Shiva temples here. And then there was a devotee who came there also at the same time. And then as soon as she saw me there, we we just briefly spoke. And then outside, we met in the temple, outside the temple. And she was like, Prabhu, why are you here? Why are you worshipping Lord Shiva? I mean, you shouldn't be here on Shivaratri. You should be in like ISKCON temple. I didn't even dare to ask, why are you here? But because at that time I was like, oh, why is Mataji so strong? And then she was like, oh, don't you know Lord Shiva is like not equal to Krishna, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And my family and my wife's family, we are all from like Shaivite background. So Lord Shiva has been our family deity, is still our family deity, and we always have big regard. Of course, at that time, I didn't understand between like Lord Shiva's and Krishna's position, so agreed. But when someone says like that to you, it's hurting our feelings, right? I mean, in fact, we didn't come to this temple for some time after that. And some people could never come back if you treat them like that. So we have to be very sensitive to people's beliefs and interactions. And then I also remember another devotee sharing with me, unfortunately it happened here, that one time he was trying to sing and then he was like kind of rejected, not asked to sing, he was like pushed away, and then he took it very offensively and he's not coming to this temple anymore. So again, not a bad thing, but just to realize that we should be avoiding how we talk to people, especially new people who are favorable to bhakti, in the sense that they want to do some service, we cannot turn them away by using our harsh words. So that's kind of the message. And finally, Prabhupada said that we have to tax our brain to spread this message. It's not easy. As we said, it takes maturity, it takes like a lot of experience. So we have to tax our brain to spread this message. And we have to be very sensitive. So why is it that we have to be sensitive, right? I mean, if you think about it, why do we have to be sensitive in giving this message to especially newcomers or kids? It's basically so because this process is voluntary. Nobody is forcing it. I cannot expect my daughter to chant Hare Krishna every day, right? It may work for like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it may not work after that. Similarly, I cannot expect a newcomer to just start following this process by force. So they have to feel inspired, they have to feel convinced. So that's why it's very important that we inspire the devotees to use their free will for Krishna, right? And that's why Prabhupada was always like, the details can be adjusted, but make sure we don't lose people. As long as they can be engaged somehow, attracted somehow to Krishna, we have to do that. And Prabhupada, for example, in one of the verses in chapter 15, there is a verse which says that there is no need for illumination by sun, moon, or stars in the spiritual world. So spiritual world is self-illumined, and there is no need for sun or moon, right? And Prabhupada, if you see in that purport, he also adds like sun, moon, stars, and then electricity. Right? And the verse does not say there is electricity in there. But Prabhupada added this word electricity because, I mean, who in this world is cooking using sun's energy and moon's energy, etc. Although indirectly we are. But nobody can relate immediately to that. But Prabhupada says electricity is also not present. There is no need of electricity. So that's one example how Prabhupada basically makes sure people connect with the message and are kind of attracted. So the other things are that we should be, again, be an example. We should be, for example, we are distributing books and we are distributing a book called like Chant and Be Happy. And if you don't look happy, then they'll be like, okay, you first read and then you can distribute. So again, the way we spread this message, the way we dress, the way we basically approach Krishna or present Krishna has to be in a happy mood. You cannot be like, you cannot say something and do something. That doesn't work. It means that we have to prepare, we have to work on our sadhana also before giving this message to others. And also, we cannot judge people externally. For example, I might see, what's your name? Parikshit. I never knew he plays mridanga so well, so until he played today. So I could have judged totally that he doesn't know mridanga, he has been coming to temple for 5 years, why doesn't he know mridanga? I could have judged so many things, but he does. I mean, so that's my misunderstanding. And I remember this example again from one of the Harinams we were in like last year, that there was one devotee who was distributing books, always joins us, and then he was distributing books. And in the Harinams, I don't do much except for looking at what other people do, and then I just make sure like everyone is like intact as a group. Right? So I was monitoring, and then I was seeing this particular devotee was giving a book for free to one of the walking people. I was like thinking suddenly, why is he giving it for free? I mean, he should have asked for some donation. How many books did he give like that for free? How do I show account now? And then I was like asking so many questions. After this Harinam, I should meet this devotee and ask him all these questions. So I was like already forming a story in my mind about this devotee. And then after the Harinam, this devotee came to me, like even before I went to him. And then he said, Prabhuji, here is my collection. And he gave me like about $30 some. And Rajesh Prabhu, you would know how difficult it is to collect $30 from book distribution, right? So apparently this devotee told me that, oh Prabhu, like I distributed like 4 or 5 books and I only got $30 Lakshmi. And then one devotee or one person, he was really interested. He didn't have money and he didn't have any Venmo or Zelle option also, but he was very interested and he wanted to come to our temple. So I gave him the book because there was this stamp on the front page saying, with the address of our temple. That's the only thing I had. So again, I was totally misjudging this devotee that he is not collecting donation, he's like distributing the wrong way. Firstly, I don't even know how to distribute correctly myself, but I was already judging him. And this devotee distributed well, he collected so much Lakshmi, and then he was like, for a valid reason, he gave the book for free. So again, we misjudge people, and we shouldn't be doing that. And also, it is mentioned that at this time and situation, like we can tap into what's growing in terms of mode of goodness in Kali Yuga. There are like 4 things that are still growing in the Western world in terms of goodness. So firstly, a lot of people are becoming vegetarian, or they recognize vegetarianism, right? So we can always kind of leverage that when we preach this message. And then also, secondly, people are interested in yoga and kirtan, right? Like a lot of people are turning into like health conscious, and then they enjoy music. And then thirdly, a lot of people are following Ayurveda. And then fourthly, there is also environmental consciousness. People are concerned about like the earth and then green living, etc. So there are so many examples, messages we can kind of grab from our Puranas and present it in a way that people are attracted in these 4 modes. So the goal here is that we should be, the goal is not that we should have few sincere or serious devotees and a whole bunch of non-committed, non-attracted devotees. That's not the goal. The goal is that, our Krishna consciousness movement, as Prabhupada envisioned, is that we are open to everyone. Anyone can come in, anyone can try our process, and then once they try, the process is so well that they'll take it up to it. Right? So, but we should not be rejecting people. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says that initially we open the door and say, oh, everyone come, and then we wait for a couple times, we remind them 2-3 times, and they don't come, we just shut the door on their face. That's how we treat them. But that should not be the mood, that we should keep welcoming, and then we should try to express our love in why they should be joining us. And again, so the goal is we'll have a few devotees and then a lot of serious devotees, and then a lot of devotees should be kind of attracted to the process, so at some point they become devotees. And it is mentioned that there are only 2 classes of people. One is devotees, the other one is like upcoming devotees. There's no third class. So we should make sure everyone is in the upcoming devotee category, all the new people, and then they're attracted somehow. So finally, we'll see a couple examples from Puranas that kind of expand on this concept of how important time, place, circumstance is. So firstly, if you look at this, Ramanavami is the day after tomorrow, so we can maybe think about Vibhishan and Ram and Hanuman at this point. So there's this nice pastime, it's a very common pastime, but it's still wonderful to listen and share this. So Vibhishan, as we know, is one of the Rakshasas also, but he's a very nice person. He's the only nice person in Lanka, right? So Ravan, Hanuman comes, he destroys the Ashokavan, and then he gets bound by Indrajit's Brahmastra voluntarily, and then he comes to Ravana's palace. And then Ravana basically tells Ravana on the face that, oh Ravana, I just wanted to come and meet you, that's why I destroyed the Ashokavan, because I thought that's the easy way to come here, otherwise it would take me a long time to come and meet you. So Ravana is already like very upset and so angry. And then Hanuman coils his tail and then makes this big chair and then sits on top of. Ravana has to look at Hanuman like this now. And then Hanuman is throwing words spears into Ravana's heart. The one interesting point Hanuman says is that, oh Ravana, if someone had offended Lord Ram, then his only resort is surrendering to Sita Devi. So if Sita excuses him, then Ram excuses. But for you, who has offended Ram and Sita, there is no hope, right? So the only hope you have is to go surrender, fall at both their feet, their lordship's feet, return Sita first, and then fall at their feet, so you might be excused. So Ravana is like losing his mind now. He's like, who is this Vanara? Is not even a human being, like a Vanara, not a Rakshasa. How much courage do you have to speak like this? And then he clings everything. I mean, he throws everything, and then he takes his sword, or he instructs his soldiers to like kill that Vanara. And then immediately the Vibhishan says, stop it. So then Vibhishan basically has this situation now that he has to stop this whole whatever is going to happen. So he says, now this is the time, place, circumstance that Vibhishan plays with. So firstly he says, oh Ravana, excuse me for giving you some instructions now. So he starts off with an apology. And then he says, oh Ravana, like he is just a messenger. He is just a spokesperson. So you get no credit in killing this Vanara who is just a spokesperson. It's just a mouthpiece, and the whole force is Lord Ram and Lakshman. So if at all you want to show any courage or valor, then just forgive him and then wait for them to come so you can finish them easily, which you can, and then show the valor to the world that you are so powerful. And then thirdly, he says that you are a great king, O Ravana. Don't disfame yourself by killing this Vanara, insignificant Vanara. Although Vibhishan knows that this just as Hanuman can easily finish Ravana and Ravana cannot do anything to Lord Ram, but still he presents this way, so at that point Ravana doesn't commit this serious offense. So in this book, this is a pastime from Shubhavilasas Prabhu's book. So he says there that because Vibhishan sandwiched this instruction, so the instruction was that he shouldn't kill Hanuman. Right? Ravana shouldn't kill Hanuman. And previously, he started with the forgiveness. He said, oh, Ravana, forgive me for instructing you, although you are elder to me. Then finishing off, like after the instruction, he says, he glorifies Ravana. Oh, you are a great king. Don't cause this disfame to yourself by killing this Vanara. So Prabhu says in the book that when you have to give a message, especially a strong message, you have to kind of sandwich it in between forgiveness and then glorification. So forgiveness, instruction, and then glorification. So when you present something really hard in that way, it's well received. So even for a demonic mentality person like Ravana, he was able to digest this message and he executed like Vibhishan wanted. So that's this example kind of showing that how important it is to choose the right words, speak the right way at the right time. And there is another interesting example that I want to share about Sudama. So again, we have heard this example many, many times, and again, a wonderful example. So everyone knows about the Sudama pastime. Sudama is a very poor Brahmin. He was this young friend of Krishna. And Sudama and his wife, Brahminical wife, they live in a different place. And Sudama is so poor that he doesn't even have like clothes on his body. He has like here and there clothes hanging on. Same thing with his wife, and the kids are like unfed and they're like so impoverished. So Sudama, even in that situation, is like doing his Brahminical duties correctly. So he's happy, even in that situation. But if you look at his wife, she's in a very miserable situation because she is thinking she's not able to do her responsibilities of a Brahminical wife. She's not able to serve her husband correctly or nor feed her children. So she is so upset and she's thinking, what can we do in this situation? So she basically thinks about it and then tells Sudama that, okay, why don't you go to Krishna, go see your Krishna. Your old friend. And then Sudama says, no, I won't go because as soon as he sees me in this condition, he will know my situation. Then there will be like this empathy on me, and then he'll give me a lot of things. And I don't want to project myself that I'm going for that purpose. So he says, no, I won't go. But then the wife pushes him saying, no, you have to go. Just go see him. He's a nice friend and it's a long time since you saw him go. And then she says, oh, don't go yet, I'll go get something for him. So, of course, they have nothing in the home. She goes to her neighbor's house, gets this little amount of parched rice, and then she puts it in, a cloth, a small piece that she tears more from her sari, and then she gives this to Sudama, and he takes it. So Sudama, all this while thinking, how will I even enter? Will Krishna recognize me? Will he even remember me? What if the gods don't let me in? What if Krishna says, oh, who are you? Go back. You don't look like my friend. So he's thinking of all the combinations or all the negative things that could happen. So he goes there, and then as expected, the gods don't let him in first. They say like, do you know who is inside? He's the king of the universe, and look at you. How can you even be friends? So they reject him. But at that time, of course, Krishna, being Paramatma and the Supreme Lord, knower of everything, he realizes that Sudama is there, and then he kind of runs to the gate, grabs Sudama, takes him inside, he washes him, washes his feet, and then he throws that water to everyone. and then he asks Rukmini Devi to like basically fan Sudama. So it's interesting that there's no Lakshmi, like Rukmini Devi is like form of Lakshmi, right? So there's no Lakshmi, like not even like penny of Lakshmi in their house, zero opulence. But here Krishna made the goddess of Lakshmi, Rukmini, like fan Sudama. So that's how much love that Krishna had for Sudama. So then Sudama basically, they talk about all the childhood pastimes, and then they talk about how they got stuck in the forest in the night, and Sandipani Muni was so upset, kind of very anxious, and the next day they went. So they were talking about all these childhood pastimes, and they kind of are so much in ecstasy. And then finally it's time for Sudama to leave, right? And we know that Sudama, when he starts to leave, then he kind of hides this rice that he brought. And then Krishna realizes that he's hiding something, and then he asks, like, did you bring something for me? And then Sudama says, no, I didn't bring anything, and he tries to hide, and obviously Krishna realizes, and he pulls it, he eats 2 morsels, and then Rukmini Devi stops from the 3rd morsel. So that's the known story. And when Krishna had this, and then when Sudama is leaving, Krishna now is thinking how to repay Sudama. Because so Krishna is thinking, I might give him so much opulence, which is like a fraction of what I have. I am the Lord of the universe. I have all the opulences in the world. And Krishna has already given him, like at that time, he gave the palace, and the whole thing transformed, right, in the village, all the houses, like the dresses, and the children were like so grand now. So he has done everything at this point. But now he's thinking that, to what Sudama and his wife gave me, what I gave is like nothing, is insignificant. I have so much that I gave like a fraction of that. But this couple didn't have anything. They went beyond their way to beg something from their neighbor and then gave me that. So I can't even compare the opulence I gave to what they gave, because they're out of the way they went and gave me. So Krishna, it's explained that Krishna is embarrassed that he couldn't reciprocate to Sudama's love and Sudama's wife's love. And that's the reason it's explained that Krishna doesn't even mention to Sudama that, oh, I gave you opulence in your house, go see how it is. Krishna didn't even say that because he was embarrassed to say, because he didn't think that was equal to what they gave. So that's how the merciful Krishna is, like the Bhakta Vatsala feature is. So it's explained that when offered with love, Krishna says, right, Patram Pushpam Valam Toyam. So when anyone offers with love, even of leaf or water or fruit, he accepted wholeheartedly. So similarly here, when Sudama and his wife offered with love, even this tiny rice, that Krishna reciprocated so much. He felt embarrassed so much that he couldn't reciprocate. And that's also, in one way we can understand this, that Krishna reciprocates in any time, place, and circumstance. If you offer with love at any time, place, circumstance, Krishna immediately reciprocates in that time, place, and circumstance. He doesn't even hesitate waiting for another moment, right? And also, the more purer our bhakti is, or the love is, then he helps us to remember him more. So it's also explained that another pastime that Lord Brahma says to Krishna that, oh Krishna, you gave everything to Putana. Right? When Putana fed Krishna, Krishna basically gave her like a Dhatri position in the spiritual world, like a nurse position. So Lord Brahma glorifies that you gave everything to Putana, that you are bankrupt now, and you cannot reciprocate gopis now. Because gopis express so much love, and now that you've given everything to Putana, you're bankrupt, you have nothing left to give to gopis. So that's how merciful you are. That's how Lord Brahma glorifies Krishna. So all these pastimes kind of stress the point that Krishna is so merciful, and all he expects from us is that love with which we perform devotional service. So we again saw when we started that the religious principles, the main 2 religious principles are that we never forget Krishna, and then we always remember Krishna, right? So again, if we do devotional service in cooperation with devotees, without seeing the defects in devotees, without complaining about what we don't have, then Krishna appreciates that attitude, and then he reciprocates immediately. And again, the main point here is that the devotees and Krishna are non-different. I mean, if you don't have good relationship with devotees, if you're not spreading this message with devotees and other devotees who might be outside yet to become devotees, then Krishna is not very happy or is not very pleased. So we have to first practice ourselves very nicely, and then also spread this message within our capability. And if we do that, Krishna reciprocates. And in fact, we can make Krishna embarrassed also. We have the opportunity to make Krishna embarrassed. Wouldn't it be nice to embarrass Krishna that way? So with that, I'd like to conclude. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. If any of you have any additional comments or corrections or discussion, yes, Prabhu.
Sometimes I get into this mode, right? Obviously, Prabhupada is Prabhupada. That's why he was able to compromise certain standards just to focus on, as you said, main purpose is actually to remember Krishna and never forget to Krishna. Based on it, he made those kind of adjustments. But if we come to us, there are two chances. Like one is like compromise to an extent where we are literally watering the
diluting. Mm-hmm.
So how do we balance that, or how to go about that?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? What exactly is the question?
So how to understand that, like, if you're approaching certain person, how do we make sure that we are not watering down completely, at the same time giving the right content?
I'm not even qualified to attempt to answer this, but I mean, what I've heard from some lectures I've heard is that this is not very easy. It's very, very difficult, especially if you, without knowing that person's background or without knowing what will impress him about Krishna, it's very hard. So I'll refer back to what you told me for her book distribution also, that we can always start with like Srila Prabhupada's books, like show pictures of Krishna, or show some pictures there that talk about the philosophy in the sense that there is this karma, there is this at a high level, and see how they reciprocate or react, and then kind of go one step higher, one step lower. So it takes, I think, experience, and it's kind of I don't know, a razor edge sword kind of thing. You cannot do it too much. You have to do it a little bit. But yeah, there's no like straight answer. I think come with experience and with some guidance. I think like with prayerful mood, if you engage in that service, maybe you'll get some guidance from within at that particular moment. And that's exactly what Krishna also says, that, I mean, when one performs devotion service per his instructions, then from within he guides. I mean, talk about time, place, circumstance. I mean, it takes like Krishna a second to give us or inspire us to react in a particular way when we are in such kind of a situation. So as long as we do our part of the morning sadhana sincerely, then it's up to Krishna to help us in the different difficult times. I think we can at least, let's be sure that he will guide us from within.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
My question was very similar to this. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for the wonderful class. And my question was very similar to Rajesh Prabhu's, because all of us understand that we need to modify based on time, place and circumstances, but the application varies from person to person.
Yeah.
So how do we know that how much is too much? So it's essentially the same question. So.
Yeah. I mean, does anyone else have any other thoughts on this? So I can think of something else. Mataji.
Please refer to Srila Prabhupada's vision and mission, which is very clearly stated in the 7 principles of ISKCON. And what is the mission ultimately? And to your point, time, place, circumstances, we should always make sure that we always have the best intention. Why are we doing? Always never focus, and never lose the focus of why we are doing things, our intention, and also I lost the word, but just to think we're always, as humans, we're always thinking, and usually we think the negatives, not the positives. We assume. Assumptions are very, very dangerous. So the Lord has given us intelligence to ask and to get in conversations. So that will be my point. When in doubt, go to the Master and our master has given us wonderful instructions. So.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, nice class. I just wanted to add to the question that Prabhu asked. I just remember that Guru Maharaj was asked the same question, His Holiness Ramapad Swami. So Maharaj, how he responded to this question was that we should really look at the principle. So externally, whatever, even if you're doing a little bit of adjustments, you should not go against the basic principle. Like if you look at, you should not offend any devotees. That's like the basic principle, right? So then that's where you talked about Lord Shiva, or looking at the maturity of a devotee, how do you behave? So you are adjusting a little bit, but the basic principle was that you are not going to offend any devotee like that. So every time you do that, and then he also mentioned it requires a lot of maturity to be able to delineate those things and really look at what the basic principle is, and then we have to adjust our behavior like that. So just wanted to add that comment.
Yeah. I just remembered one more thing that Srila Prabhupada was asked before, like Satsarup Goswami wrote the Leelamrita. So Srila Prabhupada was asked, can we write this biography about you? And if you write it, what would be the main thing that you want us to communicate in that book? So Prabhupada said that basically you have to mention that I brought Tulasi to a foreign land and made it grow there, made it flourish there. So that's what Prabhupada said. Meaning, he got Tulasi, which is like the pure devotional process, from India to the Western world, and he planted it here and he flourished it to grow. So that the message of Srila Prabhupada was that I didn't change the purity of the process, but I made it favorable, or made the circumstances favorable that it flourished even in a foreign land. So that's Prabhupada's message. Again, as Mataji said and Prabhu said, there's no like one way to like where we can determine like how to approach every single person. It depends so much. And even in 2 weeks ago, Harinam, there was one person smoking, right? I mean, we always approach even people there. I mean, if you think about even like the practical application of details versus principle, technically we shouldn't be going on Harinam, especially to Mill Avenue, where people are like smoking and drinking and eating like meat. But again, the principle that Krishna is universal. He can be appreciated, he can be taken up. This process can be taken by anyone. And they get benefited even if they are not aware of it. So one person could be smoking and hearing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he's still benefited. He's growing in the ladder of spiritual life. So there was this person smoking, and then I was like very hesitant to go to him. But still I went because he was the only person in that area. So I went to him and then showed the book, and then he was like, oh, I mean, I've seen this book and I know what you guys are doing. And he was like smoking and talking to me like this. And he was like, yeah, I know what you guys are doing. You guys are spreading the message of the God. It's so wonderful. I see you guys are happy, and then it's very essential. And he then revealed that he's a Red Indian. He's native Indian. And I mean, they live remotely, right? I mean, they're not in the city and stuff like that. But he had still heard about Krishna consciousness. He had heard about Krishna, and then he was appreciating so much that, oh, this is wonderful. And then he gave me like $5, $10 donation for the book. So again, you don't know where everyone is. Anything could click with anyone. I mean, just showing a picture, they could take up the process. And one time, we used to also give them the temple cards. And one time I was in an Uber, and this driver had this beads in it's an American, and he had the beads in his rear view mirror. And then I was 100% sure that that's not our chanting beads. So I was like curious, and I asked him like, what are those beads? I was hoping he would say like those are his like rosary beads, and he chants or stuff like that. And then he said, oh, probably, I'm not sure if you know, but these are Hare Krishna beads. I was like, yeah, I don't know about Hare Krishna beads. So, and then he was like, yeah, these are Hare Krishna beads. I was like so curious, and there was only like 5 minutes left for the airport. So I was like asking a lot of questions, like, how did he get this? And then he shared that he was in Dubai like 25, 30 years ago. No, actually he met devotees in New York or somewhere 30 years ago. And then he got the beads from them, and he was in the temple. He was like regularly visiting the temple. And then he showed me opened his trunk, and there were like books of like Srila Prabhupada. And he said, look, last 30 years, although he has not been coming to temple or going like practicing this, like some of us are trying to do. But he has been chanting every day. Whenever there's like break, he takes those beats and chants Hare Krishna Mahamandra. And then whoever he sees who are interested, then he gives these books to them. So you never know like which state people are in. Like they could be like much more elevated than what you think you are in. So that's why it's like not, we shouldn't assume this person won't take it, this person, like I shouldn't waste time in giving or preaching this message to him. As Mataji said, we should try to just spread this message and stick to the principle that we offer this with love, and if they take it, of course they will, and then if not, at least they have started now. So that should be the mood that we have. So, anything else? Oh, Hare Krishna.
So Prabhu, when you're applying time, place and circumstance, right? So like you said, everybody has different opinions. So then that is a point of conflict because, because I might say that, okay, like you said, right? Somebody's doing Kirtan, but if he's doing Mayavadi Kirtan, I'll be like, Prabhu, I'll say something, or somebody else will use some other words. So then one might say that, no, it's fine, he's very new, let him do it. But then some might have the vision that, no, okay, Prabhupada won't like it, but like, no, he's a new. So then how do we resolve these?
Again, it's a very, case-by-case basis. There's definitely, I agree that we should be conveying the message that here we have some temple standards and these are some things we do, these are the kirtans we do. And then, of course, maybe that he doesn't know this basic principle that should not be sung here or it's not per the rules of the temple. So, not in public, but maybe in a private conversation, if you can try to explain to him that it was wonderful, it was like such a nice thing, nobody comes forward to sing, but you came forward to sing, so appreciate, like what Vibhishana did, have this sandwich of like first forgiveness, and then correction, and then glorification, saying that, oh, you're very forthcoming to sing in this temple, we appreciate that. At the same time, we have some rules, and maybe we'll send you some links for the bhajans that you can sing next time. Come prepared for this and share with us. So again, that's my simple...
That's for resolving the kirtan thing, but my point was that amongst devotees itself, that how to deal with it, like maybe Prabhuji might have some other way of dealing, but I won't like it because you're not dealing with this principle, and he might be using some other principle. So how do we resolve these conflicts,
right,
amongst devotees rather?
This was a similar question asked to Chaitanya Charan Prabhu in the lecture I heard, and he was saying that so if two devotees are like kind of conflicted and they think both are like right in their own ways, they should go to someone higher, to the temple management, or maybe some common senior person that they can both share this perspective on, and then try to resolve it. I think at the end of the day, both want this to be resolved, and it just only worsens it if they don't talk about it or don't fix it. But again, if you both are in the level not able to resolve it, then the only option is to go to the higher level to kind of share and resolve. And all this could be like very secretive, right? Just amongst the three people, not shared, and then not make, because that could become a prajalpa opportunity for so many others, that he had this concern, he had that concern, and there's internal fighting, and that's how like this whole movement kind of can break even. And Prabhupada's concern was that there should be cooperation amongst ourselves and there should be not conflict inside, because Prabhupada said nobody from outside can break our movement, only people internally can break our movement if there is no cooperation. So again, case by case basis, but if you cannot resolve, then you have to go to higher authorities. Hare Krishna.
A big round of applause for Kevala Bhakti Prabhu. Very nice class, and I think a lot of practical application and nice question and answer to follow up. So next Friday there will be no Vaisnava Sadachar class. We'll be resuming this from the 18th of April. So we're going to have a break next weekend because we have His Grace Balaram Prabhu visiting Phoenix from San Diego. And there's going to be a home program at Shri Manmohan Shri Jagannath Prabhu's house. Are they here? The family here? Okay, so there is the home program. There will be a home program over there on Friday, and then on Saturday there's Harinam, and there's going to be Kevala Bhakti Prabhu will be leading that. And I believe the address is on the poster that's made, where they're meeting and the time. And then on Sunday, there will be Sunday feast class by Balram Prabhu. And then Monday, there's going to be a program at ASU, Meet a Monk series we have going on over there. So he'll be visiting ASU on Monday. So next weekend, there's a break, and then we'll continue from the following Friday. And please remember, on Sunday, we are celebrating Ram Navami, appearance of Lord Ram, and the program is on as a Sunday feast program. It starts at 4 o'clock. From 4 to 5, there'll be Abhishekam, and then at 5 o'clock, Arati as normal on a Sunday, and then 6:30 we have a class, and then there'll be Prasadam after that. So please try and come on time for the Abhishek, so you are not disappointed if the Abhishek is closed by 5 o'clock. So try and come as early as you can. And we're going to have Kirtan start at 3:30. So to entice you to be on time, please also come and join us for ecstatic Kirtan from 3:30 to 4. And then 4 to 5 o'clock Abhishekam, 5 o'clock Arati, 6:30 class, and then Prasadam will follow that. So I'd like to thank all the sponsors for Ram Navami. If you have any, you can see Shivananda Prabhu. If you still would like to sponsor anything for Ram Navami, you can see him. He's sitting over there at the corner there. And we also have a devotee care seminar on 24th to 27th of April. And we still have spaces for free registration. It's filling up fast, so those of you who have not registered for the devotee care seminar, it's going to be given by Jai Nitai Prabhu. He's a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami, and he's from Bhakti Vedanta Manor in UK, but he also is spending time at the Bhakti Center in New York. So he's at both the places, but he's in charge of the devotee care program with ISKCON, and we'd like you to take advantage of him coming personally to give that seminar on devotee care. It's really important for all the leaders of our Bhakti Bhuksha groups and other departments to join that. That will help our yatra a lot. It also will help you to help others, so, and everyone is welcome. So that is 24th to 27th of April, Devotee Care Seminar by His Grace Jai Nitai Prabhu, and his wife also will be joining him. We had a small session with them about 6 months ago, I believe, and I think some of you came. Gives really nice classes, so please join us from 24th to 27th of April, and do register as soon as you can. Thank you so much. We'll have Prasadam now, and then there will be Sunshine Darshan and Arati, and we'll be closing the temple after that. We'll recite the Prasadam prayers and serve Prasadam. You want to recite?
Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmane Vaishnave Swalpa Punyavatam Rajan Vishwasane Vajayate Sharira Vidya Jai Jade Indriyata Ekay Jive Fele Vishay Sagare Tar Mate Jivayati Lobo Mae Sudarmati Tak Jita Katin Samsare Krishna Bado Dayamay Kari Bare Diva Jai Swaprasadana Dilo Bhai Sei Anamrita Pao Shishi Radha Krishna Guna Gao Preme Dako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Jai Nimai Jai Nitai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhagavad Mahaprasadam Ki Jai.
You can be like sharing more and better. Was your hand better?